Hi, and welcome back to this week's Parsha Shir on Sefer Gedalyahu. This Shabbos, we're going to read the double portion of Behar, Bechukotai. We're going to end the reading of Sefer Vayikra, Chazak V'nit Chazek. Hopefully, we should all be strengthened by our learning of Vayikra and inspired to continue on, God willing, with the learning of Bamidbar, which will begin next Shabbos. I'd like to share with you one comment that the Gedalyahu makes on the first pasuk of the second parsha, which we're going to read, Bechukotai. And the pasuk begins very beautifully in the parsha. It says, "Im bechukosai telechu," if you follow in my laws, ve'etz mitzvosai tishmeru, and you keep my commandments, va'asisem osam, and you do them, what's going to happen? Beautiful blessings are going to happen. V'nasati gishmechem bitam. We're going to give you rain in its season. V'nasna haaretz yivula, and the land will give its produce and yield. You're going to have fruit from all the trees, and so on and so forth. All the beautiful blessings of the world will come upon you. This is the Kadosh Baruch Hu's promise to us over and over and many times in the Torah and reiterated by the Nevi'im, which is certainly the topic of Bechukotai in terms of the Tochacha. If you follow in my commandments, God's blessings will be upon you. You'll be secure in your land. You'll be prosperous in your land. You'll be successful as a nation. And if, God forbid, you don't follow my commandments, then some of the bad things will befall you in terms of exile and suffering and the loss of the land and the loss of the prosperity, etc. Before I even get to the Gedalyahu, I can't help but be struck by reading this pasuk on the week that we approach Yom Yerushalayim, the 50th anniversary of the reunification of the holy city of Yerushalayim, where we get to be zocha, we get to merit, to see Yerushalayim b'tifarta, to see the city of Yerushalayim in all of its splendor. Perhaps not the ultimate splendor of the Beis Hamikdash, but the splendor of having people packed into the city, to have the Jewish people have Yerushalayim as their focus, as their capital, as their center, and see the Jewish people really revitalized from that place, to see Ki Mitzion Teitzei Torah Dvar Hashem Yerushalayim, the word of God going out from Yerushalayim, to look over Hare Yehuda, standing up in the hilltops of Yehuda and the hilltop of Yerushalayim, looking out, seeing greenery, seeing shrubbery, seeing growth in the sense of people, in the sense of fields, in the sense of fruit, and the fulfillments of the promises mentioned here in our parsha. You can't help but be encouraged by it, that hopefully we did something right in the eyes of a Kadosh Baruch Hu to deserve these incredible blessings. And I hope we should all have a wonderful celebration of Yom Yerushalayim this coming week, and hopefully see the full building of Yerushalayim very soon in our days. The Gedalyahu comments on this pasuk, and he points out that there are actually three verbs being mentioned here. Yesh kan gimel lashonos, halicha, shmira, va'asiya. There are three verbs telling us to keep the Torah, essentially, in this pasuk. Im bechukosai telechu, the lashon of halicha, of going. If you go in the ways, telechu, of my laws, chukosai, that's number one. Second verb is shmira. Ves mitzvosai tishmeru, and you keep, you safeguard, you are shomer, my mitzvos. Then the third verb, asiya, v'asisemosam, and you do them. These are the three verbs in the pasuk. What the Gedalyahu is about to do in this little mamar, in this little piece that he has here, is to say that these three verbs, 1, 2, and 3 of our pasuk, are actually aligned with three different forms of acquisition of Torah, which happen via three different aspects of human beings. So essentially he aligns three sets of three verbs in the pasuk relating to three forms of acquisition of Torah via three aspects of humanity, of human beings. So the first and the third he elaborates on much less, and the middle one is the one he focuses on. But first he talks about the first set of three. It says, Kfar biarnu lashon halicha, shehi ha'amal belimud haTorah. What is the first verb, halicha, of going, of walking? That's already noted in Rashi, quotes Toras Kohanim, the Medrash, on this pasuk in the beginning of Bechukotai. Yachozeh kiyum hamitzvos. Apostle, what's Bechukotai telechu mean? What does it mean to walk in the statutes, in the laws of the Torah? When the rest of the pasuk already tells us, talks about keeping the mitzvahs, this can't be keeping the mitzvahs. How do I read these first two words when I know the next two words are already about keeping the mitzvahs? It must be that the first two words of the pasuk are not just telling me to keep the mitzvahs of the Torah, but rather shetihiyu amelim baTorah, that you should toil in the study of the Torah. And Bechukotai telechu is a command to give all of our energy and our enthusiasm and our toil and our kishkas to be able to study the Torah properly. And he says, V'ha'amel, this toil in Torah, shayach lanefesh. That happens through the aspect of humanity known as nefesh, meaning our soul, our personality, our being. When you invest your very being in the Torah, that's called amelus baTorah. When you invest all of yourself, you put all of your energies and your being into it, that's when you truly acquire the Torah in the depths of your nefesh. So in terms of the first set of three, you have the verb of halicha, which is a reference to acquisition of Torah through intense study, which happens only through the entirety of your being, your nefesh, your soul. That's set number one of the three. He's going to say later that the final set, which is the verb asiya, doing, is a reference to acquisition of Torah through practice, through action, which of course happens through the aspect of a human being known as guf, as the body, the physical part of the human being that actually does actions. So you have the first set of three, which is about nefesh, acquiring Torah in your nefesh through amelus, through toil. And you have the second set of three, which is acquiring Torah through your guf, through your body, through doing actions, asiya. That's the first set and the last set. What about that middle set of three? What is the verb shmirah? The hardest verb of all. Walking, I understand, that means toiling. Asiya, doing, I understand, that means taking action. What does shmirah mean? And what aspect of a human being does it connect to? He says, v'halashon shmirah yesh lefaresh milashon zechira. Very interesting twist, says the Gedalyahu. One can interpret the word shmirah, to keep, to safeguard, as being connected or overlapping somehow with the verb zechira. Zechira means not only to remember, but in the way we understand zachor, like zachor asher asalacha amalek, for example, is also verbalizing. To remember and verbalize together. So somehow safeguarding is related to verbalizing. Now, there's a very beautiful point that's not connected to our parsha, but that is really inherent in this line of the Gedalyahu, which is the brilliance of Rav Shlomo Alkabetz as he crafted the beautiful poem of Lecha Dodi, and he says, Zachor v'shamor b'dibur echad. Based on the Medrash, the Shlomo Alkabetz is suggesting that even though the two sets of the Ten Commandments have a different language, a different word to describe the mitzvah of Shabbos, the dibra of Shabbos, Zachor es Yom HaShabbos l'kadsho, or Shamor es Yom HaShabbos l'kadsho, really, Zachor v'Shamor b'dibur echad namru, as Chazal say, that the two were actually uttered together by HaKadosh Baruch Hu at Har Sinai. Zachor and Shamor were melded into one verb, into one word, into one command. We have it separated out because we're human beings. We can't actually hear two words at the same time, or visualize two words at the same time, or read two words at the same time, so they're separated out. But in reality, they come as a package deal. They come as one. That's exactly what the Gedalyahu is saying here. Zachor and Shamor are related very closely to each other. You can't have one without the other. Shmira necessitates Zechira. To be able to truly safeguard, you also have to be able to utter, to remember, and to utter something. So he says there's a source for this as well, in another pasuk in the Torah, which is very interesting. V'halashon shmira yesh lefarish milashon zechira kumo shepirish Rashi ala pasuk beParshas Re'eh. We could see this inherent in a Rashi in Parshas Re'eh, Devarim Yud Beis Chaf Chet. Moshe Rabbeinu is exhorting the Jewish people in Parshas Re'eh to keep the Torah when they come to the land of Israel, and at the end of a particular section, he summarizes it by saying, Shemor v'shamata, you should safeguard or keep, and you should listen, you should hearken, as kol advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzaveka, to all the things which I command you today. Why? Leman yitav lecha levanecha acharecha ad olam, so that it should be good for you and your descendants forever. Ki sa'aseh hayashar atov v'hayashar b'nei Hashem Elokecha. As you continue to do what is right, what is just, what is straight in the eyes of the Lord your God. So Rashi comments on this pasuk and he asks, what exactly is the interplay or the juxtaposition between shemor, keeping or safeguarding, and shamata, listening? And he says as follows. What does shemor mean? What does to safeguard really mean? Zo Mishnah. That means to repeat something over and over. Why? She'ata tzarich l'shomra bebitnecha. The words of Torah have to be kept in your beten, in your stomach, in your kishkas. It has to be part and parcel of who you are as a human being. And the only way to do that is through Mishnah. Repetition, over and over. Kimoshe Ne'amar, he brings a pasuk to prove it. A pasuk in Mishlei Chafbet Yudchet. Ki na'im, ki tishmerem bebitnecha. Ki na'im, the words of Torah are pleasant when you keep them, shmira, in your beten, in your kishkas. And if you do that, says the pasuk in Mishlei, yechavnu yachtav al svasecha. They become so much a part of you that they will be aligned together upon your lips, meaning you'll be able to utter those words of Torah because they're going to emerge naturally from you. If they're in your beten, they're going to be on your sfasayim, they're going to be on your lips, relating the concept of shmira, of safeguarding, of keeping, and zechira, which means to utter, to reminisce, to mention. Of course, they're connected in the pasuk in Re'eh. They're connected now here in the pasuk in Mishlei as well. And to further elucidate this concept, this pasuk, the Gedalyahu quotes from the Maharal in his commentary on this pasuk in Mishlei. Ube Maharal pirish es pasuk haniskar la'el. The way the Maharal explained this pasuk in Mishlei is as follows: Ki ne'imos haTorah kasher haTorah nimtes etzel ha'adam bepoal. The most beautiful, the most pleasant time of Torah is when Torah is bepoal etzel ha'adam, when it's activated for a person, when it's alive in a person, when it's strong in a person, when it's concretized in a person. Ki az ha'adam hu sichli. That's when a person truly becomes enlightened, truly becomes filled with the divine wisdom of the Torah. Kasher haTorah hu imo, so much so that the Torah is with him. It's part and parcel of him or her. Ve'ein le'imos l'mala mizo. There is nothing more pleasant than that. When Torah is repeated so much, the Torah is so much a part and parcel of a human being that it becomes imo, like one with him or her. There's nothing more beautiful than that. V'heirich sham Maharal, the haTorah hi seichel eloki. Maharal elaborates over there that, of course, what Torah really is divine wisdom. V'lachein k'sheha'adam kones haTorah. Therefore, when a person acquires the Torah for themselves, nase ha'adam sichli. A person becomes connected to that divine wisdom, to that divine insight, to that divinity. V'zeu kasher ein haTorah mishtakeach mimenu. That's the point at which Torah can never be forgotten from a person. When is it possible for Torah never to be forgotten from a person? Kasher divrei Torah al sefasav tamid. It's when the words of Torah are upon your lips all the time. Shehu lomed bahem v'chozer aleihem. When you learn them and you repeat them and you review them and you mention them over and over and over, v'az haTorah imo. That's when Torah really becomes part and parcel of who you are, part and parcel of the oneness of your being. Umevuar midvarav d'shmiras haTorah hu ayedei chazara v'hashinun ba'tamid. What we learn from this Maharal and this pasuk in Mishlei and this pasuk in Re'eh is that shmiras haTorah, truly being called a shomer, a guard, safeguarding the Torah, happens through constant repetition, through constant verbalization, over and over of the words of Torah. And through that, a person intellectually becomes aligned with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So according to the Maharal, now you have the middle track of the three sets of three. According to the Gedalyahu, you have the middle track of the three sets of three. The verb of the first pasuk in Bechukotai is the middle verb, shmira, keeping. What does shmira mean? Shmira means that you acquire Torah through constant verbalization. And how does that become acquired? Through which aspect of a human being? The seichel, the intellect, which becomes aligned with the wisdom of HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. So the Gedalyahu says, now you have the package deal of the pasuk, of the three sets of three, the three modes of acquisition of the Torah, via the three verbs, via the three aspects of the human being. He summarizes it. Hare detchilas pasuk, the beginning of the pasuk, im bechukotai telechu. If you walk in the ways of Torah, the hakavanu hu ala melus baTorah, which is intending to tell us that you have to be toiling in Torah, hitikun hanefesh. That's the fixing of the nefesh aspect of a human being. Number 2, ushmiras hamitzos, the middle verb of keeping, safeguarding the mitzvos, dehakavanu ala chazara, which is intended to tell us that we're supposed to repeat Torah over and over and review Torah over and over. Hitikun haseichel, that's the fixing of the intellect. And 3, v'sof pasuk, the last verb of the pasuk, v'asisemosam, that you should actually do the commandments, is intended to tell us that you have to have asiyas hamitzvos. You have to do the commandments, and that is tikkun haguf. That is the perfecting of the body. 3 sets of 3. It's a beautiful explanation of the pasuk, a beautiful exploration of the 3 concepts of nefesh, seichel, and guf, a beautiful avenue to understand different modes of acquisition of Torah and the integration of all human qualities in order to achieve that. And I think, final point, which I would emphasize in this little ma'amar of the Gedalyahu, is of course that if you truly want to soar in Torah and make Torah truly a part of who you are as a human being, you have to hit it at all levels. You have to have all the pistons going in order to truly make Torah imo, make Torah a part of you. And the only way to do that is to incorporate Torah into every aspect of who you are as a human being. To the intellectual, to the emotional / spiritual / soul, and through the guf, through the body. Those are the 3 verbs of the pasuk, hitting the acquisition of Torah through intellectual abilities, through emotional personality abilities, and through physical abilities as well. When you have all those 3 aligned towards the goal of acquiring Torah, then Torah becomes part and parcel of the human being, and one becomes truly connected with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. May we all be successful at achieving the acquisition of Torah in all 3 areas, and the fulfillment of this beautiful first pasuk of Bechukotai, so that ultimately we will be able to achieve the second pasuk of all the blessings in the world, both material and spiritual. Shabbat Shalom.